Woodall wins the faceoff, and that will do it. For the first time since 1992 and the third time ever, the Tigers have knocked off the #1 team in the country. It was a big stage here on a Wednesday night, Davey, and at times it wasn't real pretty, but it kind of fits what Towson is all about. They come away with the 12-10 win.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle on the pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Welcome to Lacrosse Now. That's Travis Eldridge. I am Tom Eschen, and we're getting you ready for another weekend of lacrosse as we close the month of March.
This is a great time of year. Conference play beginning.
You know what they say? March goes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. Not in lacrosse.
No.
Goes in like a lion, goes out like a lion.
Like a bigger lion. We look ahead to the weekend, and we have our eyes on one particular giant game. Speaking of Lions, the Nittany Lions, Penn State, and Grant Ament, question marks around the star. Ament did not play last week, and the Nittany Lions win over Cleveland State. They take on Maryland this weekend. Jeff Tambroni telling Penn State newspaper The Daily Collegian that Ament is day-to-day, and he's dealing with a lower body injury. Tambroni added that Ament's done a good job of taking care of himself and his business over the course of the last week, and has done a great job of recovering from this injury. We don't know what the injury is, but remember, he missed last season with a broken foot the entire year. He suffered that in February.
And when he's been in, he's been the catalyst for a fantastic Penn State offense this season. #1 in the country, breaking the program's single-season assist record with half a season still to play, scoring 10 goals, 46 assists in 7 games. Good for 8 per game, 8 points a game, which is tops in the nation, 1 point more than Loyola's Pat Spencer. Yeah, so you can see the impact Ament's made on his team, on the rest of the country at the same time.
Yeah.
So let's bring in analyst Davey Emela now to sort of talk about the impact of Ament's absence. And we saw him out of the lineup against Cleveland State. Don't know about Maryland or even the rest of the season at this point. Davey, what do you think about all this?
You know, Grant's a really special player, and we've seen him come on these last couple weeks, but I think he really is the straw that ultimately stirs the drink for Penn State. So, no matter which way you look at it, I think it's a huge impact. Not only, if he's not playing, but even if he's at, 70, 60% or something like that. Like I said, I think he's such a dynamic player and relies on his ability to move and create space between him and his defenders so much that I think it certainly will be a huge impact. Hopefully, the injury is not that significant, but at the same time, you look at the season he's having, you look at the way he puts up his points and has his production, and there's so much athleticism involved in those movements that I think it certainly, will be an effect.
And obviously, we saw last year about what it was like to play without him, and this Penn State team struggled to figure out kind of their offensive identity at the beginning of the year. Let's focus just against Maryland here, because this is maybe the most important game of the season for Penn State when it comes to Big Ten Conference play. 1 versus 3. If he doesn't play, what are the chances Penn State can get a win?
In my opinion, they go down significantly. I certainly don't want to discredit guys like Mac O'Keefe and Nick Spillane that are there, who were there last year, who have been consistently putting up, the numbers that they have. But, unfortunately, if you look at Maryland, you see their sort of, lone blemish is that Notre Dame game. Other than that, they've done what you've expected them to do. They've been a very dominant team. They're a team that knows how to play and control the pace, which I think certainly does not help Penn State at all. When you look at this sort of game, it's a star power matchup, and I think both teams, to be at full strength is going to be the sort of the game that we all expected and wanted to see. Taking them out of that mix, certainly hurts Penn State, and I think helps Maryland's chances.
And thinking about how significant this matchup is, but if this happens to linger maybe a little bit longer, which we hope it doesn't, is it Maryland's to lose after that? If maybe Ament's out another game, or even if he's out this game, this could make an impact, I feel like, in the Big Ten for weeks to come, for the rest of the conference season, too.
It is, and Tom, I think you're absolutely right. In my opinion, I thought Maryland, was the best team coming into this season. When you're looking at Fairman and Bernhardt, and then all the resurgence of these other players, and then the other young guys that are developing. Great job by Coach Tillman. So, unfortunately, I think when you do take Ament out of the equation and Penn State's not at full strength, I do think it is Maryland's to lose, just because I know how well they've been coached and how they're able to play at so many different, paces. It does take quite a special player to get them rattled and throw them off their game plan.
And it sounds like, just real quick here, it sounds like even with Ament, it sounds like you would have liked Maryland this game. Is that true?
I've been very, very complimentary of Penn State and Ament and what they've done. I know Maryland as a program, and I've seen sort of their development and the way they like to do things. And that's sort of the theme I keep coming back to, is the way that Maryland can control the pace of a game. And I think that, it can frustrate you. It can, challenge your mental discipline. And when you sort of don't have your go-to guy and the guy, and again, even with them, I would have thought this as well, but I think Maryland does a great job of dictating the game and playing their pace. So luckily I don't have to answer that definitively. But I think Maryland's a team that's getting better each and every week, and they're gearing up for a playoff run.
We got to get Grant in the TB12 program. He's rocking the TB12 zip-up. All about pliability is Davey Emela.
Something that does make Grant very special is he's very cognizant of his health and nutrition and what he does in the weight room. So he's already on his way. We'll reach out.
There we go. Davey, appreciate the insight. Thanks, man.
You got it.
But before we get to Sunday, we have to look at Friday, or tomorrow, as we have a top 20 battle between 18th-ranked Richmond and 7th-ranked Virginia.
Yeah, Richmond coming in with a 3-game win streak, all SoCon games. Overall, the Spiders at 6-3. This game falling in the middle of their SoCon schedule, so it makes it a little interesting. Outside of their conference, the Spiders with a 1-goal loss to 3rd-ranked Maryland, a 1-goal win over then 6th-ranked Notre Dame, and a 4-goal loss to Duke. So overall, you got the win against Notre Dame. That looks good, but still could use another victory against Virginia if you want to help your possible at-large resume.
Indeed. Senior attackman Teddy Hatfield's been the guy thus far leading the team in points with 43 assists, 21. Hatfield, the program and SoCon's all-time points leader. Ryan Lansbury's 30 goals leads the Spiders in the goals category.
As for the Cavaliers, we know their story by now. 3 straight overtime wins followed by a comeback win over Notre Dame last week. Just your normal 16-11 win over Hopkins, that is, last week. It's their first 5-game winning streak since 2014. UVA's 10-man ride certainly making its impact so far this year in the shot clock era, limiting opponents to just 72% on the clear. Something to watch.
Yeah, one of the best in the country there. On the offensive side of the ball, Michael Krause coming on strong as the season's gone on. During the 5-game winning streak, he has 14 goals, 11 assists for 25 points. He has 35 points total in 8 games this season.
You can see this game, ACC Network Extra, 7 p.m. Friday night. That's tomorrow. Full highlights on Lacrosse Now, 9 p.m. Eastern time right here on Lacrosse Sports Network on Friday. So it should be a lot of fun. All right, mark your calendars. The WPLL announcing their stops for this summer, 2nd season of the league, and it'll start at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, in conjunction with the PLL's first weekend in league history in June. After that, they take a week off before heading to Richmond, Virginia. Then joining back up with the PLL at Homewood Field in Baltimore. They'll finish up the month of July with stops in Philadelphia and on Long Island. No dates yet for the semifinals and championship games.
All right. Some Lax Biz, as Hofstra making a deal with Nike to become their official apparel supplier for all 21 of Hofstra's athletic programs. The first ever full head-to-toe partnership for Hofstra Athletics, so that's everything. Hofstra head coach Seth Tierney saying on their Instagram page that it's not only a great partnership for their program, but for the entire Hofstra University athletics family. The partnership, which will be fulfilled by BSN Sports, will begin this upcoming fall.
So some changes for lacrosse teams' looks. Meanwhile, the Boston Cannons partnering with NBC Sports Boston for the 3rd straight year. The network will present all 16 Boston Cannons games this year, starting with the home opener on June 1st. Home games will be live on NBC Sports Boston in the New England area. Some away contests will be aired on a delay, but if you're in Massachusetts, New England, chance to watch the Boston Cannons on cable.
Or you can just go to the game. All right, moving on. Syracuse Duke women or Virginia and JMU women. Which game will be better? We'll play this or that with this week's schedule, not that week's schedule.
Plus, we look back at the CAA preseason rankings, compare it to where Hofstra and Towson stand as they get ready for their conference opener this week here on Lacrosse Sports Network.
And there's about a month left in the NLL season. We'll predict the award winners. Best rookie, best goalie, MVP, as Lacrosse Now rolls on.
Hey guys, it's Megan with Ellison, and I have some exciting news that you are going to absolutely love. We have a new show coming out called Ellison Off Script. And it's pretty simple. We go off script and we have the best of the best in the lax world that we talk to. First guest, Miles Jones. Second guest, Marie McCool. We go completely off script talking about music, fashion, clothes, whatever just comes to mind. So just be on the lookout. It's coming soon.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
I'm Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101, and today we'll be working on 1 pick, 2 shots. have players set up around the 24-foot line. The bottom guy is going to come up, get to the middle of the floor, and then go set a pick. The guy getting picked is going to cut, catch a pass from the low guy. I'll roll, catch a pass from the high guy, and take a shot. 1 pick, 2 shots.
Lacrosse Now is brought to you in part by New Balance Lacrosse, built for lacrosse.
Down the stretch we come of the NLL season. Just every teams range from like 3 to 6 games left, so there's varying different games left. But playoff spots are on the line. However, right now we're going to talk about individual awards.
Yeah, I mean, we got a month to go, so some of the things still have to be decided, but we're predicting for the future now, which we like to do and speculate and do all that garbage. So
that's what we're here for.
We'll start with Rookie of the Year. Who wins it?
So there are some good nominees here. You got Austin Stotts. You like Kyle Killen a lot. You could throw in some guys that were high draft picks in there as well, but the guy who went #1 overall is my guy in Austin Stotts. Stotts with San Diego. He's tied for 6th, not among rookies, tied for 6th in the entire NLL in goals with 29, and he's done that in just 12 games. So he still has 6 more games to go, and he's going to finish likely somewhere in the top 5 in the league in goals scored. That's incredible for a rookie. On top of that, he is such an important part of this offense. Stepping in as a first-year guy and to carry the load that he has carried, I think is really, really impressive. Plus, he's helped this team get to first place in the West Division as an expansion franchise. All of those things combined, I don't think San Diego has a dog in the fight when it comes to the MVP conversation. So you got to give them some sort of recognition if they're going to be first place in the West at the end of this thing.
They could get a Coach of the Year as well, for Patrick Merrill.
That would be well deserved. So I like Stotts.
I think Stotts, and here's my explanation. I think if Stotts wasn't having the year he's having, the one we all expected him to have, I think actually it would be Trevor Baptiste. You look at what Jake Withers, who won the award last year, all of his numbers, Trevor's got the same exact numbers. The same separation between Trevor and everybody else in the league when it comes to face-off percentage. Trevor's at 65%. The next up is 52%, Tyler Burton of Calgary. So that's what, 13% of a difference in face-offs? Withers won it last year. He had 67% of his face-offs. The next closest guy, 51%. So they have very similar numbers, Baptiste and Withers from last year. So without Austin Stotts in the equation, because last year, I actually think Zach Currier should have won it. 200 loose balls is pretty good, and no one in the league's had that in the last few years. One of the higher totals we've seen. So I think Zach Currier should have won it last year, but at the same time, you had a Josh Byrne who just wasn't at he had a great rookie year, but he had 63 points. Austin Stotts has 53 points with, like you mentioned, so many games left to play. So I think the separation isn't there like it was last year between Trevor Baptiste and everybody else. I think Austin Stotts is having a better year than he is, and if you take Austin Stotts out of the equation, Baptiste wins it.
Yeah, I think it took a unique year for Withers to win that award a year ago. This year, when you have a guy like Austin Stotts step in as a first overall pick and do what you expected him to do, and maybe above what some people may have expected him to do, I think he gets it. All right, let's move on. Goalie of the year. Who do you like? We've got some good nominees.
I think we got some good nominees, but I think clear and away it's Matt Vince. He's having a better year than he had last year when he won Goalie of the Year. And he's leading more categories last year than he won this year compared to last year. He's a 12-1 record. He leads the league in goals against average. He leads the league in save percentage. Last year, he won it 3rd in goals against average, 4th in save percentage. So, to me, it's obvious. Matt Vince should win. He's on the best team, the best goalie. His numbers are better than everybody else's. There's no contest here. I know Frank Scigliano, Mike Poulin have both had great years.
Mike Poulin is right up there with Matt Vince when you look at the numbers.
Are close. They're close.
The numbers are close.
Yeah.
However, I like you with Vince because when you look at Vince will go down as one of the greatest box goalies of all time. he leads in save percentage. That's currently at 79.9%, about 80%. That would be 4th best in his entire career. This is an illustrious career. That's top 5 in his career. His 12 wins already this season are tied for the most he's ever had in a regular season at any point in his career. So I think the Bandits are going to win at least one more here. He's going to have the most wins he's ever had in a regular season this year. And on top of all of that, for him to jump into a new team, have to adjust to a new defense, and we saw him take his lumps early. There were
Which
a couple
makes
of
the
games,
numbers even more impressive.
Right. There were a couple of games that were a little shaky.
I think I even forgot about that. You're right.
Beginning of the season.
We talked about that, adjusting to the defense in front of him.
We had Bandits fans on social media freaking out about picking up Matt Vince, and, well, he's silenced the doubters since. So I think with all of that, I mean, this is going to be, it should be handed.
And keep in mind, for both of these topics, there's still games to go. So,
there are games to go.
I mean, you never know what can happen with the Rookie of the Year with Kyle Killen. Could keep on coming on. He's had a great stretch here. And even maybe Mike Pullen could come on if Matt Vince has a little bit of a hiccup, if the Bandits sort of ease off the gas a little bit. So this isn't decided yet, but still, these are the front runners. I just want to preface that and say this isn't finished yet.
12-1, Matt Vince.
I know.
He's lost one
and the
game.
Bandits are good. So.
For record. All right, the big award.
The big one.
MVP.
This one's
valuable.
tough.
This is very much still a toss-up.
I think
this is wide open.
We've been talking obviously a lot about Callum Crawford and the fact that he missed a couple games, and I don't know. I mean, his numbers right now are below that of the top guys in the league, but when he went out, he
was leading the league.
He was leading the league with those numbers. But I also like Lyle Thompson a lot. And I know Callum's going to come back and score, and he has more games to play than Lyle, and he might catch Lyle Thompson. And you can't say, hey, he was going to play 2 more games and his numbers would have been even higher because it's his fault he was out for those games. So we can't play devil's advocate that way. Right. So the other stat I like about Lyle Thompson is he has 4 game-winning goals, which means he's come up in the big spots, and we've seen that in some of these wins they've had. So right now, it's Lyle Thompson in my eyes. And I know how valuable Callum Crawford's been to this team. And I know that's going to be your argument, so go on.
Are you reading my notes
here?
No,
I'm reading your mind.
Look, it's most valuable player. That is the award. It's not the best player. It's the most valuable. I mean, you look at this team in New England, what they did without him in those 2 games. 0-2.
But we didn't get to see that from Lyle Thompson.
Yeah, I understand.
We didn't get to see the swarm without him.
But look, I think that team still has plenty of firepower when you look at Randy Stotts and all the different pieces they have on that offense. Callum Crawford, they were 0-2 without him. In the 5 games before that, the suspension, these last 2, 4 of 5, New England has won. And Crawford has 3 games of double-digit points. He has really hit his stride. Now, all this is going to be decided in this last stretch of the season.
Yeah.
Crawford gets that 6-game suspension, this thing's out the window. There's no way he's winning this thing. But him being back, he's with 81 points still. He's still going to have a chance in these last handful of games to make a run at the scoring title. And if he's at the top of the list or even top 3, having missed those 2 games, I know it's his fault. But you still have to take into the account that this dude put up incredible numbers in fewer games, and his points per game is going to be higher.
And another aspect of you mentioned valuable, I think we need to talk about Dane Smith. And you saw Mark Matthews win this award last year, not as the leader in goals, but the leader.
Assists.
He had 84 assists last year with 32 goals. So he had far more assists than goals last year and won the MVP award. Dane Smith has 59 assists. He leads the league. He has 84 points, which is among the top few. So I wouldn't write Dane Smith off at this point either, because he's been putting up big numbers for the best team in the league. And depending on how the Buffalo does down the stretch here, he could put up good enough numbers to be even higher in this conversation and be the front runner at this point.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to down the stretch. I think the one thing that hurts Dane maybe a little bit is the amount of talent he has around him on that offense. That ball gets shared a lot because they have so many options. It's a great thing for the Bandits to have. I think when you look at Lyle, and we talked about Georgia, they've got a lot of options. New England has added options, but the 2 of them, I think I guess you could throw Randy Stotts in this conversation as well, but I don't know. I think the 2 of them have, depending on what happens down the stretch, are 2 of my favorites.
Could Lyle and Randy win co-MVPs?
I don't, probably not, but I would vote for those guys.
Right. I mean, they could. I think they're
both have really good years.
They're 1-2 right now in points. So
crazy thing is they're both rookies. Randy Stotts was the Rookie of the Year that year.
That's right.
A couple years ago.
Yeah. Look at how good he is now.
worked out pretty well. That was a good draft for Georgia. Remember, you can catch up on all our NLL content, highlights on demand right now on LaxSportsNetwork.com and the free LSN app if you want to watch it on the go or on your TV.
Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox, Android, Chromecast,
Zingo TV,
which we're now on, so go check all of that out, all at the same time. Woof.
Gonna put a hurt on your internet.
Coming up, we'll play a game of this or that. Which is the bigger game for a Pennsylvania school? Yale against Penn or Penn State taking on Maryland?
Plus, we continue to get you ready for the start of CAA play here on LSN. We'll get to know Hofstra's Jimmy Yanis a little better before the showdown with 11th ranked Cal.
His favorite karaoke song.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Designing extra man offense plays, it's best to incorporate some element of surprise to try to confuse the defense. This 1-4-1 to a 3-3 uses a ball side slip screen to try to get an easy look in the crease. It's best suited for intermediate to advanced skill levels. The trigger on this play is the player at X. I'm going to have him go to the left, but feel free to mirror this and you can go to the right as well. He's going to carry to the left side. As this action occurs, we're going to get a little slip screen right here between these two players. The other crease man is going to roll off and be an outlet, and these two players are going to exchange on the backside. In an ideal world, the defense overreacts to this player popping out, leaving an open dunk right on the crease. If neither of these players is open, we want to move the ball to the backside, and this player should turn the corner and shoot and score if no one's covering him. Otherwise, he should have an easy look right in front or a skip to the top middle guy.
Welcome back. As CAA play gets underway this week, let's take a look back at the preseason poll. Defending champion UMass picked first. The now 11th ranked Tigers were picked second in the league. Delaware and Hofstra tied for third in the poll, while Drexel and Fairfield rounded out the list.
So let's look at now through the non-conference play. Here are the records for the teams so far. Towson did the most in the non-conference with those wins over Hopkins and Loyola, but much like last year, UMass come on strong as of late. They won 5 straight entering conference play. Drexel and Delaware have had some bright spots so far, while Hofstra and Fairfield have struggled at times thus far.
So we kick off the conference portion of the CAA Game of the Week slate here on LSN on Saturday. One of the better rivalries in the league, Baltimore versus Long Island, as we get Towson and Hofstra.
And so far this season, a story of two programs in different places entering CAA play. We'll start with Towson. Despite losing 3 in a row, it's still been the most impressive team in non-conference play in the league. They were number 1 at one point.
Yep.
The Tigers have those 2 marquee wins and just a few turnovers away from maybe adding wins over Duke and Denver to that list. Those turnovers remain one of the few question marks entering CAA play for Towson. And there's no question who the top cover guy is. That sophomore Kobe Smith. He's been outstanding. Been asked to lock down guys like Pat Spencer, Jeff Teat, Ethan Walker. Even broken out as an offensive option. He scored his career best 6 goals and added 3 assists in 8 games so far. Travis spoke to him this week if you want to see that.
Yeah, check it out
on our website. Yeah.
As for Hofstra, a lot more questions still to be answered for this young team as they enter CAA play. The Pride have dealt with a number of different injuries offensively, while they've looked to new players to fill big holes at the faceoff X, on defense, and in goal. At 3-6 so far, the Pride looking forward to wiping the slate clean as the conference season gets underway. One of the guys that is back offensively for Hofstra is Jimmy Yanis. He started the season in the midfield, but the injuries on offense has slid him back into an attack role that he played last year. His 12 points so far ranked 2nd on the team behind Ryan Tierney. But we want to know more about Jimmy, and that is why he's with Tom now.
Fast 5 with Jimmy Yanis. We'll start here with Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean. You got to choose one.
Pacific.
I figured that, California bred. All right. Dream vacation location.
Hawaii.
Go-to karaoke song.
No Air from wherever.
Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown?
Yeah.
The fact that I knew who sang that says a lot about me, too. All right, what's the next one here? How many Final Four teams do you have left in your bracket?
I have 14 of the 16 in my Sweet 16.
All right.
And all 4 are still in the Final Four.
You're in good shape. I like it. And how about one word to describe Coach Tierney?
Tough.
I like it. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
You didn't get him to sing any tunes?
I mean, No Air is not the easiest song just to sing.
Jordan Sparks, Chris Brown?
I mean, Coach Tierney was in the room too, so they could have done the duet together.
No, that would have been something.
That would have been memorable.
You can get to know all sorts of players, pro and college, by searching Fast 5 on LiveSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app. We talked to guys like Zach Currier, women's players like Michelle Tumalo, Rutgers star Adam Charlambides, all playing Fast 5 right here on LSN.
It's the game for the nation.
It is.
It's going around the country.
The
oh, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I forgot the sleeping part. All right, let's move on. As for now, still to come, we'll take you around the country. We'll sweep the nation. Our high school roundup this week checks in on Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Florida.
Plus, we play a game of this or that. Which ACC game going to be better this weekend? Houston, Notre Dame, or Duke versus UNC? We weigh in coming up next. What's up, lacrosse fans? Have you heard? Lac Sports Network is now free. You can enjoy over 150 live games, including all of the MLL regular season and over 2,000 hours of original content. Check us out at LacSportsNetwork.com or download the LSN app. Available on iOS, Android, Roku, Chromecast, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and Xbox. It's all free, so what are you waiting for?
Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101. Today we'll be talking about shuffle passing. As we're doing this drill, we want to make sure that our stick stays above our shoulder and we're passing, we're following through, right? We're not making any cradle motions when we catch it. We're controlling the ball before we release it. And we're not trying to race up the floor as we shuffle. It's more about control than it is about speed.
Hey guys, it's Megan with Ellison, and I have some exciting news that you are going to absolutely love. We have a new show coming out called Ellison Off Script, and it's pretty simple. We go off script, and we have the best of the best in the lax world that we talk to. First guest, Miles Jones. Second guest, Marie Nicole. We go completely off script, talking about music, fashion, clothes, whatever just comes to mind. So just be on the lookout. It's coming soon.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Table. You know what that means?
What?
This or that.
Pick one.
All right.
This or that.
So we've got some good matchups this weekend. So we're going to choose the one we think is better.
Yeah.
It's going to be more exciting. So
First up, we got Cuse Notre Dame or Duke North Carolina. A couple of ACC rivalries going at it.
I'll let you go first.
Which one do you think I'm going to choose?
I think I have an idea, but why don't you go ahead?
All right, so here's the thing. Both these matchups are intriguing and important in the conference. However, with Syracuse and Notre Dame, I have no idea what either of these teams are. Like, I think Syracuse is good, especially after that come-from-behind win over Duke. It was full of drama. It was so much fun to watch, but I'm still not completely sold on them because when you have to come back from down 4 and 5 goals in the fourth quarter, like, that's not a spot you want to be in on a consistent basis. Then, with Notre Dame, like, yeah, they beat Maryland, but it happened inside in their own facility. They got to give them a little bit of edge for that. They make and it's an overtime game. You win by 1. But then they have some losses where I'm not completely sold on them. So I don't know what either of these teams have. And this game is so important for both because somebody is going to fall. Because at this point, I think North Carolina is in that 4 or 5 spot in the conference. Somebody, whether it's Virginia, Duke, Syracuse, Notre Dame, somebody's going to fall into that other 4 and 5 spot in the conference and going to have to play a game to get into the semifinals of the ACC tournament. I don't think that's a spot you want to be in. So this game, I think, will tell us, hopefully, tells us a little bit more about one of these teams.
Yeah, I agree with that part. I think it's a game of Notre Dame who's blown a lot of leads this year, and Syracuse who's won a lot of one-goal games this year. That's kind of the tell tape there.
It's true.
I think Duke North Carolina is going to be the better game because I think that has the upset potential that you like to see. And 5 of the last 6 years, this has been a one-goal game, no matter how good each team was.
It's a great rivalry.
Duke, North Carolina, in Chapel Hill. It's going to be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's got a little bit more of a better TV audience. There's be more people watching. They might watch at noon. So I like that feel. You get to wake up a little bit later, more energy. So I'm going Duke, North Carolina. Last year, a 1-goal Duke win. That's that to me. 5 of the last 6 years, no matter how good these teams have been, they've been really close games. And I think Cuse Notre Dame has the potential to be ugly. I think it has the potential to be like both ways. I think it has the potential to be like a 9-6 game. So I think they both have good defenses, both top 30 defenses in the country. Their offenses are decent, but I just feel like they're more of a defensive-minded game, and I just think it's going to be a little uglier. So I think Duke North Carolina has the wow factor, and I think the other games will be a little ugly. You'll be like, I'd rather watch Duke North Carolina right now.
I think Duke could blow out North Carolina. I'm going to be honest.
I mean, they had 5 of the last 6 years. It's been a 1-goal game.
Yeah, I know. So those were different teams than this year.
Well, those were different teams than last year.
Let's move on. A couple of Pennsylvania schools. A couple of Pennsylvania schools have put themselves squarely in the mix here of some marquee matchups. We've got Yale and Penn at Franklin Field there in Philadelphia in a big Ivy League matchup, or Penn State versus Maryland down in College Park.
I think the Penn State-Maryland game is the one I want to see. I mean, we talked earlier in the show about Grant Ament.
It's a huge game.
We talked earlier about him and Maryland, and I want to, whether Grant Ament's in the game or not, I think I want to see more of Maryland. I know Davey Emola, I talked to him and questioned him on it. He loves Maryland. Travis loves Maryland. I'm not sold on Maryland yet. Their best win to me is against Penn in overtime.
Just know who they are.
I know you have an idea of who they are because of what's been happening in the past. But Penn State is a different team this year, and we can't always look at the past when we look at these games.
Until they win,
and I'm looking
it's
for
a big hurdle.
I know, but they're #1 in the country right now for a reason. They put up a lot of goals for a reason.
Number 1 a couple of years ago.
They put up a lot of goals for a reason, and Grant Ament is not the sole person in that offense. They have other pieces, and I want to see if Maryland. I'm really intrigued to see if without Grant Ament, if Maryland can blow them out. If Maryland, if it's a close game or not. If Grant Ament's in the offense, that makes it even more intriguing to see if Penn State is who we think they are. So compared to the Penn-Yale game, I like Penn. I like Yale a lot more. I think Yale is one of the best teams in the country, and I think this game won't be nearly as close as Penn State-Maryland. Intriguing. I'm not going to talk about the score. I think intrigue-wise, I like Penn State-Maryland more.
So I love the Penn State-Maryland game is huge, and the whole Grant Ament thing is gigantic down the stretch because Penn State is holding that Grant Ament injury very close to the vest. As they should. They've got a gigantic Big Ten game here coming up this weekend. It's on TV. There's no hiding what is going on with Grant Ament after this game. So I think we're going to learn a lot, whether it's through the broadcast, seeing him on the sideline. I think we're going to finally learn something about Grant Ament this weekend, which gives this lot a lot of intrigue. And it's 1 versus 3. I can't not pick this game as maybe the one I'm more excited about.
Yeah.
However, I will say this about Yale and Penn. Before the season, I would have told you Yale is going to blow Penn out of the water, and this is probably not going to be a game because I had that much confidence in Yale, and Penn has underachieved with similar lineups in the past. From watching Penn and having a chance to do their games during the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic and then that win over Cornell, this team is really impressive, and you better watch out for them.
And the thing about Penn, just to finish your thought, I know, they play very well together, and they've got a group of guys that have been playing together for a few years, and that works, and that wins. That is really good. I like that.
And you talk so much about Yale and the athletes that this Yale team has. Yeah. It's one of the reasons they won the national championship last year. Penn has the athletes to match up with the Bulldogs. They've got Sam Hanley in the midfield, who's 6'5", 200+ pounds, freshman who's stellar. Simon Matthias and Tyler Dunn is built like a rock. You got Simon Matthias there. Alex Rosner has started to perform a little bit better here in the last several games in the midfield. Another guy who they've depended on. And the defense is finally healthy. They've got healthy guys in the back there. You have a 4-year starting goalie in Reed Junkin. They've got the pieces to do it.
What are you choosing here?
I'm choosing.
You made a great point.
The game I want to watch, you can't pick against Maryland and Penn State. It's 1 versus 3. But I am very intrigued by the other games. Still intrigued. It's just not picking.
They're close.
They're close.
We want to watch all these games.
Sneakily, I'm just saying the Penn-Yale game, sneaky. It's a good one.
Okay. Women now.
Women's game. What do we got?
We got Syracuse and Duke. Syracuse heading to Durham and UVA at BC, which both of these could, to me, turn into blowouts because we've been talking a lot about the sort of tiers we've seen in women's lacrosse, and I feel like Syracuse and Maryland are both, or Maryland's in that tier too, and Boston College are both in that upper tier, and we're just looking for another team to sort of make their way up. And that's what makes these games intriguing because you're always looking for that team that's going to be like, hey, we're on this, we're good too. We're part of that top tier of teams. And between these two games, I want to say Syracuse-Duke because
go ahead, say it.
I think I'm going to go with Syracuse-Duke just because of how dominant Boston College has been. I don't see them letting up anytime soon until they probably get into the NCAA tournament, and they're going to keep things pretty. I don't want to say no contest, but they're going to dominate.
Yeah.
So I like Syracuse-Duke. I think we haven't seen enough from Duke just yet. Duke's shown potential to be really good. I mean, you've got an athlete like Charlotte North who can cause a lot of problems for Syracuse. So I'm going to go with the Syracuse-Duke game just because I like that matchup a little bit better. Syracuse going on the road. And look, I mean, Syracuse lost last year 17-10, so I think they've got a little chip on their shoulder.
Well, yeah, I was actually at that game in the Carrier Dome last year between these two, and that was a huge surprise. This year, I don't know if it would be a huge surprise if Duke goes in at home, has a chance to give Syracuse some trouble. I'm more intrigued by BC Virginia because I agree. I think Boston College has a chance to blow them out. But I'm intrigued by how close Virginia can keep it. Because how often at this point, and we were talking about yesterday here on the show, it seems as though there are 3 teams at the top of the women's rankings right now that are above everybody else. You got Boston College and Maryland, who are still unbeaten, and you got to include Syracuse in that conversation because their only losses are to the top 2, and they had a chance to win both those games.
They were 3 goals away combined.
They were close in an overtime game against Maryland. So you're in the mix there with Syracuse. Outside of that, Virginia's been somewhere around the top 5. You've got JMU's that's been in the mix. All these other programs have just kind of been floating there, but whenever they have to play one of those top 3, they get blown out.
Right.
So I'm interested to see if Virginia has what it takes to be in that upper echelon conversation, because that, at the end of the day, you got to be in that upper echelon conversation if you're going to compete for championship weekend. I think this game may tell us a little something about that.
So you think Virginia has a better chance of that than Duke?
No, I don't know. I think Duke is. The Syracuse game, I think there's less in between them than Boston College, Virginia. I'm interested to see if Virginia proves me wrong.
Okay. Interested to think about how high above Boston College is those other 2 teams, too.
That, too.
Between Syracuse and Maryland.
Maybe Maryland and BC, and then Syracuse, and then everybody else.
Yeah, that's
just
making it interesting this year. So this or that, what do you guys want to see? Let us know.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Speaking of good matchups in the women's game, Northwestern hosting Penn State in a Big Ten battle. A little score update from out there near Chicago.
Evanston, Illinois. There you go. Plus, it's Thursday, so we've got our high school roundup this week. We take you to Florida, PA, Maryland. Some of the hot topics from those spots in the high school game.
Looked like.
Woodall wins the face-off, and that will do it. For the first time since 1992 and the 3rd time ever, the Tigers have knocked off the #1 team in the country. It was a big stage here on a Wednesday night, Davey, and at times it wasn't real pretty, but it kind of fits what Towson is all about. They come away with the 12-10 win.
Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101. Today we'll be talking about shuffle passing. As we're doing this drill, we want to make sure that our stick stays above our shoulder and we're passing, we're following through, right? We're not making any cradle motions when we catch it. We're controlling the ball before we release it. And we're not trying to race up the floor as we shuffle. It's more about control than it is about speed.
You're watching Lag Sports Network.
Thursday here on LSN, we delve into the prep ranks, traveling around the country to get the pulse on what's going on with those stars of tomorrow.
Yeah, this week we travel to Florida, Philly, and Maryland, which is where we start with the head coach of boys Latin, Brian Farrell.
Sure. We are headed into MIA play on Friday night at 7 o'clock against Calvert Hall, the defending champions. So we're thrilled, excited, and looking to start a new season in one of the more competitive leagues in the country. Well, that's why you want to play those games, because you get to go against some guys that are going to play at the next level and some guys that are really skilled, and then obviously some really good coaches as well, too. So we just feel it's the best way for us to prepare for the MIA, and we try to give our best effort and then go against some of the best talent in the country. And, we always talk about what our goal is as coaches, and it really is to get to that next level and to play whatever, Division I, Division II, Division III, and to give them practice scenarios that might see in college, to give them a schedule that you might see in college where we're practicing 6 days a week, you're watching film, you're doing 2.5 hours worth of practicing and being competitive throughout the whole week, just like a college team would. And we try to develop all different types of skills with our coaching staffs, whether that's on the offensive end, defensive end, having them do individual skills after practices. It's a full-on buy-in to make sure that they're ready to play at college lacrosse.
Okay, well, there's been very little movement in the polls. A lot of schools were on spring break, and other Florida teams were playing the non-Florida games, and I tend not to put them in the poll very much. Oxbridge still #1, followed by Ponte Vedra, St. Andrews, Cardinal Mooney, and St. Thomas Aquinas. Looks like we're going to have a heck of a race to the Final Four this year. Some great early round matchups. Also, in the past week, we had the invasion of the Maryland and D.C. contingent. We saw many of the Maryland powerhouses with Gonzaga and Miami for the Jesuit Lacrosse Classic. Boys Latin, St. Paul's, and Bullis came down and swept their East Coast road trips with victories. Loyola Blakefield was on the West Coast. Although the Loyola Blakefield St. Thomas game was not played, unfortunately, due to some communication issues. And we also had on the West Coast in Sarasota the Sticks for Soldiers event over a weekend. Cardinal Mooney hosting it, an event as a fundraiser for an honored veteran, who this year is Christopher Scott, who is medically retired from the U.S. Navy. Great lacrosse for a great event in Sarasota. And just hope that it's sort of a model for everyone going forward to do these types of events. So that's it. This is Lee Roggenberg of Florida Lacrosse News saying so long from the Sunshine State.
It was a tough game yesterday. They're a really good team, obviously, and but from our standpoint, I think this so far we just got getting out of a March here that was a pretty meat grinder of a schedule with 8 games and 4 against MIAA teams, and we played LaSalle, we played St. Stephen, St. Agnes, and a good Everest team, and then just kind of finished up here with Culver. We felt that we matched up really well with those teams. They're all obviously really talented, and they all have really great players, but I think that each game, you're seeing just different types of guys and different types of players, but we felt that we ran with all of them. And the game with McDonough that we lost, obviously they're excellent, and they had a really good day. But it was a back and forth, and in the fourth quarter we just kind of they went on a little bit of run that we couldn't really respond to. But we felt pretty good about it. I feel good coming out of that March with the schedule that we played, being 6-2. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you're able to, it's a test every time out, and for us, our guys get really jacked up and excited about it. So they're excited to get on the field and compete against the best teams in the country, and that's Coach Nostrand has done an unbelievable job of establishing Haverford as one of those teams and putting together a schedule that allows us to go out and test ourselves against those teams, and coming away from each game feeling like that there's a ton of talent out there. It's just fun to coach against. It's fun to play against, and just to give yourself a run against the best guys. Yeah, I mean, so obviously the teams in our conference are all really, really good. The ones that we're so excited to play all of them. There's very similar to the teams we played already. There's great players, at every team. So, we open up here, upcoming here with Penn Charter after we play Salisbury School Wednesday, and then we have Penn Charter on Friday. They have a great face-off guy, Gavin Teague. who we're excited to go against. And then we have kind of a week to really get ready for the rest of the Interact schedule when we play Malvern the following Friday. So, it's just right into the thick of it right away. So just excited to play against all those teams. Really great competition and great coaches.
You can see more in-depth interviews with Brian, Lee, and Brendan right now on demand here on LaxSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app. It's free, and now we're on Zingo TV. So there you go.
We'll wrap things up with a look at tonight's big women's matchup at Northwestern. Penn State's in town. Could they keep it close? Find out next.
Coach Quirk here. Today we're going to be working on our shooting. First shooting drill is our step down shooting. A coach or a player will be feeding the ball, and the coaching points to this drill are step down shooting, hands up and away from the body, stepping with your opposite foot, and directing the ball towards the cage. The communication aspect is key as well. The player's calling for the ball. Notice the foot movement, getting a little bit of a hop step, crow hop step as well, and letting the ball go. Okay, now we'll work on our shooting and dodging from behind. Our attackmen and midfielders will dodge from behind the cage. As mentioned in previous episodes of Cannon's Full Contact, split dodge, face dodge, and roll dodge. Our players will exhibit those dodges as well as finishing in tight shots. Notice the players are getting high and away from the crease and finishing in tight. Again, foot movement, change of direction, and finishing is critical in shooting in tight. Players at all levels can work on shooting, whether it be short sticks or long poles, going to the cage, getting the arms up and away from the body. If we're in tight and a defender on us, we're finishing in tight with a tight shot.
You don't give a girl confidence. She already came with a lifetime supply. The question is, what do you do with all that confidence? Do you ignore it? Or do you give her the tools to harness it? Tools that will help her trust her instincts, make her aim true, and put her in complete command. Provide her with these things, and that confidence will grow strong enough to banish all doubt. You can't give a girl something she already has, but with a little help, you can give her the power to change everything. No stringing, no adjustments, a revolution in women's lacrosse, the Dynasty Warp Pro.
You're watching Lax Sports Network.
All right, big game in the women's game tonight, starting to come to a close in the Big Ten between Penn State and Northwestern.
In Evanston.
In Evanston, Illinois.
Yeah.
Out there, you were close. It was by Chicago, and this is close to finish, and, well, it's pretty much over. 19-10. Wildcats. Penn State not number 5 in the country, by the way, but Northwestern. Big time winning so far. I mean, Wildcats are a team that could put up some goals, and certainly showing that here tonight.
Yeah, played some defense today, so that was a nice thing to see. Playing some more defense than normal. Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. They haven't played the best defense this year, and now they are. So as they get into Big Ten play, something they're going to try to work on. And they have. So good job, Northwestern. putting out some goals. Selena Lasota, the whole gang.
The fighting Chris Marshall. You get a win tonight. There you go. That's win for
So big day tomorrow. We've got a big matchup with Richmond going in action. So that should be fun, taking on Virginia, right?
Yeah,
should be a good game.
And we'll get you ready for Saturday's slate.
I'm excited for conference play. I don't know about you.
That's good.
We're ready to go.
Best time of the year.
We were just talking about earlier this week. Everything changes now. You know, our whole perspective. We're going to see a lot of things happen in the next few weeks.
Everybody's 0-0 unless you've already played conference games. Then you're not.
Then you're 1-0 or 2-1 or take your pick.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.